for the fire protection.
That's why it's more. That's what I wanted to know. Okay, thank you. Anybody got any comments, any questions? No. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dow.
Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to address the council? Please come forward. Seeing none, I have a motion by Councilmember Sharwood, seconded by Councilmember Lahat to close the public hearing. All council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. I have a motion by Councilmember Sharwood, seconded by Councilmember Lahat. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 8B is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 13,606, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $7 million and no dollars limited tax bond series 2024 of the City of Kenner, State of Louisiana, and one or more series, prescribing the form, fixing the details, and providing for the payment of principal and interest on such bonds, and for the rights of the owners thereof, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. I have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Brennan, to open the public hearing. All council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. We're now in 5-0. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council? Please come forward. Seeing none, I have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Brennan, to close the public hearing. All council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. I have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Brennan, on approval. Anyone wishing to address? Seeing none, all council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 9 is ordinances for the sale, purchase, transfer, lease, and/or alienation of immovable property. We have none. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage, and we have none. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution making application to the State Bond Commission for consent and authority to issue, sell, and deliver sales tax bonds of the City of Kenner in the total aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $4 million, setting forth the security therefor, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. I have a motion by Councilmember Lahat, seconded by Councilmember Sharwood. Is there any discussion on the matter? Seeing none, all council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 13,607. An ordinance approving an increase to the not-to-exceed amount established by ordinance 12,187, adopted March 2nd, 2023, to furnish generators, towable, and stationary on an as-needed basis with ARCO Company Services Incorporated, utilizing state contract number 4400026321 by $300,000 annually for the Department of General Services. I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember McKinney. We have someone in the audience wishing to address the council. You have 3 minutes, Mr. Morella.
Stout.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 52 years. I just need to know what's the reason for this increase.
This is a piggyback contract with a state contract. The reason for the increase in the cap was set up at $300,000. We're going up to $600,000 because we recently spent $287,774 for a generator at 24th and Delaware, which is a significant sewer lift station that handles sewer from a number of other areas. So therefore, right now, after the expenditure of $287,000 and some change, we are almost there with the cap, and we still got a long time to go. So there is a need to increase the cap, from $300,000 to $600,000 yearly, and we're only going to use the funds on an as-needed basis to purchase generators.
Okay, thank you, Jose. Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Any further discussion on the matter? Seeing none, council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 13,608, an ordinance ratifying an emergency purchase of a 25-ton air conditioning system for Buddy Lawson Gym in the amount of $52,947 from Beacon Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Incorporated for the General Services Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember McKinney. Is there any discussion on the matter? Seeing none, council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 13,609, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Christmas Village LLC to supply Christmas lighting as needed in accordance with letter bid 24-2133 and an amount not to exceed $50,000 annually for the General Services Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Is there any discussion on the issue? Seeing none, council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 15D is summary ordinance number 13,610, an ordinance authorizing a 12-month policies and training solution management system subscription service with Lexapol LLC in the amount of $74,882.70 for the Kenner Police Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember Lahat. Seeing no discussion, council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 15E is summary ordinance number 13,611, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Bayou State to supply electrical supplies on an as-needed basis in accordance with sealed bid number 24-6839 and an amount not to exceed $250,000 annually for the Parks and Recreation Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Sharwood, seconded by Councilmember Brennan. Seeing no discussion, council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 15F is summary ordinance number 13,612, an ordinance approving a franchise agreement with Unity Fiber Gulco LLC for the rights to conduct the business of acquiring, maintaining, constructing, laying, repairing, removing, replacing, installing, operating, and disposing of a fiber optic communications transmission system. I have a motion by Councilmember Lahat, seconded by Councilmember Sharwood. Seeing no discussion, council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 15G is summary ordinance number 13,613, an ordinance approving an agreement with Meyer Engineers Limited for professional services in connection with the Fassbender Community Center roof repairs and an amount not to exceed $49,000 for the Public Works Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Sharwood, seconded by Councilmember McKinney. Mr. Chairman, I've received a request to amend this item. They need to change the amount to $40,703, which is a reduction. I have a motion by Councilmember Sharwood, seconded by Councilmember McKinney on the amendment as the clerk just read. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, council members in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 5-0 on the amendment. Back to the original motion as amended. Council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 15H is summary ordinance number 13,614, an ordinance approving an agreement with Cannon Cochran Management Services Incorporated for insurance claims services and an amount not to exceed $90,000 for the legal department. I have a motion by Councilmember Lahat, seconded by Councilmember Brennan. Mr. Chairman, we've also received a request to amend this legislation to change the amount to $103,500. I have a motion by Councilmember Lahat, seconded by Councilmember Brennan on the amendment. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Councilmember.
Yes, Council President, I just get an explanation for that by the administration.
I can give you an explanation. The amendment, it was 90,000, the last contract we had, so it was just a typo that it was 90,000. It went up. It was a 4-year contract. We're coming up on a renewal, or we're just doing a new contract.
Okay, so the new contracts are higher.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, they're doing more work. CCMSI handles all of our outside adjusting. They handle workers' comp. They handle property damage, bodily injury damage. Somebody's sewer backs up, they handle that. They're like our initial step, and they track all of the outside counsel's billing, and they help just basically handle all the workers' comp, which is a lot for the city, including fire and police.
Okay, great, thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, council members, please vote on the amendment. In favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. On the original motion as amended, council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 15I is summary ordinance number 13,615. An ordinance approving an amendment to the agreement with Regional Transit Authority for transit services to add termination provisions to Section 5, general terms and conditions. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Is there any discussion on the issue?
Ms. Dow, I know you want to speak right now, but let me get Ms. Valerie. Let Ms. Valerie speak, and then she'll probably answer every question that you got.
I just wanted to take a moment. I have spoken to some of you council members briefly on this topic, but I wanted to just kind of go through the timeline of the events and explain, why we're asking you, to pass this today and what the outlook is from this point forward. So Jefferson Parish, during this spring legislative session at the state level, had legislation passed to remove itself as a member of the RTA. At the same time, the mayor was approached by the parish president with the prospect of Jefferson Parish Transit taking over the Kenner Loop. With that, she has capital funding to obligate to improvements to the loop. The FTA money that goes through the RPC and to RTA on behalf of Kenner, that will now be shifted to Jefferson Parish Transit and still allocated for Kenner. So basically, we will be not the outlier anymore. We will be run by Jefferson Parish Transit, just like all of the other municipalities in the parish. We met with Jefferson Parish administrators last week, including the transit director. They are ready to assume operation of the Kenner Loop September 22nd. The old agreement that we had with RTA that dates back to 1985, the termination clause in that document states that termination can take place with 6 months' notice. The 6 month notice has been given. I sent y'all an email on that, and that would make the termination possible at the end of this year. However, we would like to make the transition sooner, and RTA is okay with that. So the city attorney drafted an amendment to that agreement so that we can terminate immediately and not have to wait the 6 months. So we're just asking for you to approve that today. The RTA board, their legal department has looked at it. It's going to go before their board. They're aware that we're doing this. I've been in conversations with them, and they know that this amendment is something that they're going to be signing as well. And then we will be doing a lot of things to work with Jefferson Parish Transit to improve the efficiency of the Kenner Loop, to lower the amount of time that riders have to spend traveling, the loop to get from place to place, lowering the fares that in the transfer fees that it winds up costing them, putting in some vital stops that don't exist now, namely the mayor wanted one in front of the Social Security office, one in front of the hospital. That doesn't exist. When Jefferson Parish Transit assumes the Kenner Loop, it will assume it as is with the addition of the Social Security office stop and the hospital stop. But after that point, we are going to be reviewing the route, looking at efficiencies, looking at the data, looking at the ridership, and just making improvements. Jefferson Parish has agreements with vendors who provide bus shelters and bus benches. They will amend their agreements to include the city of Kenner and the Kenner Loop in those agreements and manage those contracts. So that's basically, just a brief synopsis of where we are, and we're all, working together on this, and this is going to be a very big win for the city.
And you're probably too young. I know, Mr. Al, you've been around for a while. The Kenner Loop used to be a green school bus back in the day, right?
Yep.
It was much better now than they were back then. All right, Mr. Al.
I got the floor right now? Okay. Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 52 years. I support this ordinance, and I'm going to tell you why. Everybody in this room should know what happened with the RTA board just recently because of the higher-ups meeting behind closed doors and keeping things from the board. 4 to 5 board members abruptly resigned, and they couldn't even have any meetings. So, lot of unscrupulous things that was going on, been going on since day one with them. So I'm in favor of this. However, the Jefferson Transit Authority, everybody in this room should also know, they're run by Transdev. Transdev used to be Viola Water or Veolia, wherever y'all want to pronounce it, okay? Where we had questionable invoices when they ran our wastewater treatment plants back here, okay? Took it out of the house and give it to them. The procurement of that 25-year contract was rather dubious itself. So all I'm saying to y'all is, keep a close eye on what's going on with Transdev, because their track record's nothing to write home about either, man. Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Al. Mr. Gregg.
Greg Tapp, 5th District. Al really sums it up pretty good. The only thing I wanted to add to that, though, is to the citizens of Kenner, will it be any difference in pricing for fares? And will the city of Kenner actually come out ahead by moving to Jefferson Parish's transit versus the RTA? Does it have a benefit monetarily for the city as well? Thank you.
Yes, there will be a reduction in transfer fees once we make the loop more efficient. Off the bat, there's going to be a reduction in ridership fees. It's going to be better service to the riders. The bus stops you're going to see improvements made to the bus stops. They're actually going to have poles with signs and amenities like a bench, and maybe not every one of them right away, but as transit, gets the funding, they're going to come in and do those things. So yes, it is 100% a benefit to the city and the citizens of Kenner and those who use the Kenner Loop. As far as Transdev is concerned, Mr. Al, we're not going to be getting Transdev invoices. Jefferson Parish gets the Transdev invoices and always has, so it will be their responsibility to ensure their accuracy and their integrity.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Councilman Brennan?
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Ms. Brolin, for your comments. Mr. Tapp, thought it was a good question. I think all things considered, if this was even, the additional stops that the mayor pushed for and the improvements to the stops, how many times do you drive past one of these bus stops and these people are just standing out there in the heat, just melting, waiting for that green school bus? Anyway, I think it's a good move, and I think it's really going to benefit the citizens of Kenner. So thanks for all the work on this.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Councilman?
Seeing no further discussion, all council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 5-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Gills Carpet Sales Incorporated to furnish and install flooring as needed in accordance with sealed bid number 24-6841 and an amount not to exceed $75,000 annually for the General Services Department. Item 16B is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of one Airworks Command OG Ultra Bright Matrice M30T Mission Ready Kit from Airworks LLC, a sole source provider, in the amount of $18,099 for the Kenner Police Department. Item 16C is an ordinance approving change order number 1 to the agreement with Han Enterprises Incorporated regarding Rosemary Minor Park outdoor fitness equipment for a net increase of $4,981 to the agreement amount resulting in a total agreement amount of $78,201 for the Parks and Recreation Department. Item 16D is an ordinance ratifying the emergency repair of pump number 3 located at 24th and Delaware Lift Station by Fluid Processing Pumps LLC in the amount of $55,935 for the wastewater department. Item 16E is an ordinance ratifying the emergency replacement of the Barnes submersible pump for clarifier number 1 at the wastewater treatment plant by Precision PSI LLC in the amount of $6,385 for the wastewater department. Item 16F is an ordinance ratifying an emergency repair of Unit 66050, a 2008 Kubota track hoe by Lee Tractor Company, an authorized dealer, in the amount of $9,243.93 for the Fleet Management Department. Item 16G is an ordinance approving the utilization of state contract number 44000297752 for the purchase of tires, tubes, and related services from Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company on an as-needed basis and an amount not to exceed $150,000 annually for the Fleet Management Department. Item 16H is an ordinance authorizing the use of state contract number 44000252243 to purchase lawn equipment and an amount not to exceed $100,000 for the General Services Department or any other department. Item 16I is an ordinance approving the use of state contract number 44000288582 and a 5-year finance agreement with Axon Enterprises Incorporated for the purchase of an Axon Air unmanned aerial vehicle system, including all associated hardware, software, peripherals, and applicable training, and an amount not to exceed $100,000 for the Kenner Police Department. Item 16J is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of ballistic body armor and accessories to outfit newly hired officers and replace expired body armor from United Shield International LLC, utilizing state contract number 44000258226, and an amount not to exceed $150,000 annually for the Kenner Police Department. Item 16K is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Priority Systems Incorporated to furnish and install a fire alarm system for Kenner Fire Station number 36 in accordance with seal bid number 24-6814 and an amount not to exceed $17,585 for the Kenner Fire Department. Item 17 is reports from the council and our special committees. We have none. Item 18 is new business. Item 18A, at the request of Councilmember Wilmot, a discussion concerning ordinance number 12,597 adopted on July 11, 2024 regarding an ordinance amending Chapter 15 of the Kenner Code of Ordinances to provide for the operation of golf carts on Kenner City streets.
Councilman Wilmot, it's your turn.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the last meeting, we passed legislation regarding golf carts throughout the city of Kenner, which actually allows golf carts to be driven on all city streets. Just know that it was a vote of 5-2, and I opposed. I voted against it. But it came to my attention after that meeting that there was actually a study, and I inquired whether or not we did a study within the city of Kenner. And of course, I understand we did not, but there's literally a study that was done by the Louisiana Transportation Research Center that works with the DOTD on a lot of studies and whatnot. So they're very professional source of information and data. They even have professional engineers that work with that group. So it's a 50-page study. I think it was important to bring up, even though we passed the legislation last time, I think it's important data that we know as a body so we can do whatever we need to do, if anything. And this, whoever was on the prevailing side, they may decide that they want to do an amendment and change something. I do know that the ordinance we did pass is probably the most liberal of golf cart regulations throughout the state. A lot of them, they either have some type of limitations on the speed limits, which you can't operate golf carts on roads greater than 25 miles an hour. Some of them have designated streets, and some of them even say you can only drive golf carts during the daylight. So there's all kinds of different things that could be done that we didn't do. So I want to draw everybody's attention to that. Also, I passed out this study to all the council members, the administration, legal, Ms. Acting Mayor, and I believe there's a few extra copies over here by the podium if anybody else from the public would like them. Anyway, I'm just going to talk about the report just a little bit. It's not going to take me long. I'm going to be very brief with it. But I would like to give a gist of some of the report. On page 5 in particular, it's like the second to last paragraph. Although there are several benefits in allowing golf carts to operate on public roads, the increasing number of these vehicles and mixed vehicle traffic on public roads has raised concerns about traffic and occupant safety. The safety limitations of these vehicles, such as lack of protection and inadequate safety equipment, are likely to expose the drivers and passengers to higher crash risks than passenger cars, especially on streets with speed limits greater than 25 miles per hour. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety's crash test showed that mix of LSVs, and LSVs is low-speed vehicles, and regular traffic is a dangerous combination because LSVs with some safety measure or features are no match for even the smallest of cars that meet crashworthiness standards on the roads. Golf carts are not tested for that. It is therefore comes as to no surprise that the growing use of golf carts on public roads has already resulted in fatalities and serious injuries nationwide. And this report actually gives a lot of the states and their data as far as their laws, the fatalities, and it's quite good. And I was glad to see that it existed, and I wanted to make sure that I shared it with everybody. Now, there are various towns that we have in the state of Louisiana that have golf cart laws, and I'm just going to mention a few of them, because they're especially the ones that are bordering. St. Charles Parish allows for roadways only 25 miles an hour or less. Again, that's a parish. St. John the Baptist allows for specific streets. That's unique. City of DeQuincy does not indicate speed limits, but it's got a small population. It's only got 3,144 citizens. That's of 2020 census. City of Youngsville restricted to daylight hours and not allowed on 19 state highways. So apparently they got a lot of state highways. 15,929 citizens is the population. Grand Isle, designated paths, and only between sunrise and sunset. Now it's got a population just over 1,000. Jenna, all roads 35 miles an hour or less. But note, it's got a population of 4,155, so it's a rural area. Kinder, limited to certain roads and crossings. Town of Welsh, all roadways and certain crossings, but restricted to daytime hours. Again, there's another daytime hours. I think that's interesting. The population there is only 3,226. And that's, to me, that's what's critical. Those are as of the time this report was done in 2020, so it's somewhat dated, but there's been certain things that has happened since this report, and I'm going to point out a couple. Slidell passed an ordinance, as was mentioned by the mayor at the last meeting, but it's for roadways 25 miles an hour or less, and it's only got a population of 28,781. Harahan passed an ordinance. Again, roadways 25 miles an hour or less, population of 9,116. Now, looking at our city of Kenner, recent ordinance enacted allows the city streets, all city streets. We have the largest population reported of all the cities above, which is 66,448. That's as of the census of 2020. We are clearly an urban city, not rural. Many of our rural cities are even more restrictive than what we have passed here in Kenner. At least many of them restrict usage during the daylight hours. The urban cities appear to limit the usage to roads of 25 miles per hour or less. Just know that I do oppose golf carts on our public roads, but if we're going to allow them, we should consider possibly amending what we have passed and consider some of these things that's in this study that might be a great benefit to make them safer. And I ask that my fellow council members keep that in mind, and that's all I have to say on the matter. I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, sir. Council Clare?
Item 19 is unfinished business and motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position. We have none. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 52 years. I have a special intention and mention for the first responder Corey Comparatore, who lost his life during the attempted assassination of President Trump, protecting his family. So let's keep the contemporary family in our prayers. Contemporary, okay. Anyway, I want to direct this to Councilman Wilmot. Councilman Wilmot, I agree with you 250% on this golf cart. Not only that, on some of your recent opposition up here to other issues. I think you're truly listening to your constituents, and you're voicing their concerns up there, and you're working their will. I support you, Councilman, 250% on what you're doing. Keep doing it. 2 days after this golf cart ordinance was passed, they had a guy coming down Sunset in front of my house, which is a one-way street. We still got fools coming off that bridge where there's no stop sign, coming up that one-way street. This man had 3 children on the tail end of that golf cart. 3, with the back of the seat facing the driver of the golf cart. The seat was designed the other way. If there'd have been somebody coming across that bridge, coming up that one-way street, and he would have had to try to stop all of a sudden, all them people on that golf cart would have been dead. So I would direct this to you, Chief. If we got to erect a crime camera or we got to erect a traffic camera on that post by my house to start catching these people, it's not, they're not doing it as often as they were, but they still got some fools that are coming across that bridge, coming up that one-way street. We need to start catching them. We need to start doing what we got to do, because somebody's going to get killed if these golf carts are allowed to come up that little one-way street, Sunset Boulevard, in front of my house. Now, moving on, back on June the 9th, we at Fort J class of 64 had a 60-year reunion at the Crossing, right down here in South Kenner. It's a beautiful venue. The people that ran that reunion, that worked it, were very courteous, very professional. I called the organizers for mine, which is going to be next year, the class of 65, 60 years, to try to strongly consider using that venue again. So we got some beautiful venues here in our city. And maybe they're being promoted, maybe they're not being promoted as what they should be. But as a citizen, I'm promoting them. And I was on the phone, like I said, with the organizers of my reunion coming up next year to try to get that venue again.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Al.
Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Gregg, please step up.
Greg Taft, 5th District. Al must be reading my mind or something, I don't know. But I do want to also say, Councilman Wilmot, this report is fantastic. And I think you taking the extra steps is very important, because if anybody has paid any attention, there's a lot of citizens out there that have comments regarding golf carts. Some are good, but there's a bunch that are not so good. And the thing that really surprised me is that we passed this thing so fast that not only did we leave out some safety issues, but we didn't bother to get the citizens of Kenner's input, how they felt about it. And that's what I thank Mr. Wilmot for, because he must have listened to the constituents out there. And I think that it is worth for the council to go back, restudy it, because there may be a place for these golf carts, but I think there should be some restrictions, considering what this report has shown. And I think the issue that Al Morella brought up is very valid, because it was said, I said it here, somebody's going to get hurt, because you're going to have a teenage kid taking their daddy's cart, and they're going to have an accident. And hopefully it won't be real bad, but when you put a car against a golf cart, I don't care what anybody says, something bad is going to happen. And that's really all I have to say. I wish y'all would go back and study it again and maybe work together to either strengthen it or make it more useful, and maybe even talk to the other citizens out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gregg. Also, on that, sometimes the first drafting is not always the best. Sometimes may have to go in, we have to tweak it and things like that. But we are going to see what we can do, because there's other things that we're going to have to be looking into besides a golf cart. Electronic bikes. The electric bikes are getting very popular. Too big for the sidewalk, not big enough for the streets. So if we can get something worked out and brainstormed to get a better ordinance, we're going to do it. Councilman Hatt.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to do. City of New Orleans actually is talking about doing the same thing, because they're trying to get a handle on the safety issues. That's what the purpose of the legislation is to get a handle on them, require them to register, make sure they have liability insurance, like I said last meeting. I've met with the police chief 3 times on this. I'm very much familiar with Mr. Councilman Wilmot's Transportation Research Center, 0228 SA. There's 11 states that have 35-mile-an-hour requirements. This is a sui generis type legislation, which we can always go back on and review once we do it. I've met with the police chief multiple times. I don't think Councilman Wilmot has once. So if he wanted to know if I knew about this, I know everything about this 55-page research center. And there were 0 fatalities in Louisiana on golf carts for a period of 5 years dating back to 2013. So yeah, we're gonna make them safe. And Al, I know. And look, I'll talk to you all you want about golf carts. I know all about them. And if we got to come back and do something, I've met with this police chief, and whatever he says goes. And we're just trying to regulate him, make him happy. And the people in my district like him, and I wouldn't have done it otherwise. So that's all I got to say. Ryan, you're up.
And I'm sorry,
now
I
you have
didn't
the floor.
make it to the sign-up list in time. My name is Ryan Nugent. I live at 5444 Erlanger in District 3. I didn't really come planning to say anything about this today, but since it's being discussed, I actually agree with both Councilman Lahat and Councilman Wilmot in that I do think that this is something that, where I live on Erlanger, in the area that we call the Vistas or Lake Trail, there's literally nothing separating us, no major roadways over 20 miles an hour separating us from the levee, for example. So, there really aren't those kind of major safety risks in that area. And then I understand, one of the main issues that it seems like we're dealing with is kind of these more high-speed roadways. And so I did want to actually start off by clarifying one thing that I think might have been misstated last week based on my reading of the ordinance. If I understand correctly, it's limited to roadways with a speed limit of 35 miles per hour. And it was mentioned veterans last week. Most veterans is actually 40 miles per hour. So the golf carts would not be allowed on most of Veterans Boulevard. And I think that's where most people's concerns lie, not just on veterans, but on our high density, more high traffic areas of Williams Boulevard, for example. And I don't recall, I think there was something said about state highways. not allowed on state highways? Okay, so yeah, that would kind of eliminate that issue if it's not allowed on state highways. But when I say that I agree with Councilman Wilmot, that I think that maybe, catering this a little bit more to specific areas, designating specific corridors, the big impediment for something, a neighborhood like Driftwood or Lake Vista, which is right across from Driftwood, would essentially be getting across the Vintage Canal. And so, can we designate just a portion of Power Boulevard that connects those two sections as permissible on those 35-mile-per-hour roadways? So when I say that, I agree with Councilman Lahat and Councilman Wilmot, I do think that this is something that we needed to look into. Maybe it was a little bit rushed, but I think it is something worth pursuing. At the same time, I think we can do it a little bit safer and take a more nuanced approach to how we handle this. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that'd like to address the council? Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead and state your name, your district.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Bauer. I live on West Loyola Drive in the 5th District. We have a couple of major issues that we need to deal with. One, the speeding up and down West Loyola, East Loyola. It's horrible. It's terrible. Waiting for someone to majorly get hurt. I watch it on a daily basis. I go outside, I try to get the people to slow down by doing this maneuver. I get cursed out on a daily basis. Sorry, I'm nervous. We're having a water pressure issue. I'm being told that I'm the only one reporting it. That may be the case, but I highly doubt it. I had an app yesterday pulled up, and it showed in a certain area that they were had a lot of people saying that they had low water pressure. Low is fine, but when it comes a trickle out of your faucets, you know there's a major issue. Try to get this issue resolved through my councilman, stuff like that, and I'm not saying that they're not working on it, but to me, it needs to be addressed quicker, because if not, we're gonna be put under a boil advisory. The water pressure gets very, very low. I understand through my councilman that we're supposed to be starting to work on trimming the trees down West Loyola, making some improvements, and that's great and wonderful. And there's things that we can put off for days or weeks, but there's also things that need to be addressed, not just today. They should have been being addressed a long time ago. The speeding and everything is out of control. We kind of went lax on some of the laws that we should be enforcing. And it's going to wind up causing someone to get majorly hurt. I would hate, I've lived in my house since I'm 14 years old. I just made 51 yesterday. I would hate to see someone get killed. I've already seen a child right after Katrina get hit by a person that did not belong here. He had no driver's license, no insurance. He ran from the cops. I happened to corner him, and I got him to talk to me. The cops come out, they took him to jail, don't know what happened to him after that. But the little girl, she was 5 years old, and like I said, this is right after Katrina. She literally had to start learning to walk all over again after being 5 years old. That's bad enough. The worst thing that I'm scared of, someone is gonna lose their life on West Loyola Drive. It's a residential neighborhood. I've lived there for so long. The speed limit is 20 miles an hour. I had a lady show me her GPS the other day on her phone. The GPS had the street listed at 55 miles an hour. That is the most insane thing I've ever seen.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Chief, I'm sure, your comments?
Yeah, no, the number one complaint we get is traffic complaints, speeding and things of that nature in residential neighborhoods. We've gotten our numbers up. We put 4 more people in the traffic division. We've got over 20 dash-mounted radars in the patrol division. They have been working West Louisiana. It's just, I know Mr. Al brought up about maybe traffic camera enforcement, which has been floated around, and I think it's time, and we've had conversations as well as with all the civic groups that I go to, and there seems to be support for traffic camera enforcement. I know we had to see what happened in the legislature because there were some people concerned with facial recognition, AI things, but I think that's going to be a conversation that we're going to have. I think that's a move we're going to have to put up in front of the council and have public hearings and get public input, and just keep in mind anything that the council does by ordinance is going to have restrictions that this council votes on, this council supports. But, I know the last 2 chiefs before me have come to their councils and asked the council to consider it. Other municipalities are doing it. It's a civil remedy. It doesn't affect your driving record, but it does modify behavior. It's not a money grab. It supports itself. Any other revenues can be used to fix streets or whatever. But I do understand what you're talking about. We're doing the best we can. Like I said, we just moved 4 more officers into the traffic division. We have pretty good coverage. We're really getting aggressive with the fraudulent tags and the no driver's licenses, which means no insurance. We're having a lot of success with that. Are we putting a dent in it? I have no idea. We haven't really tracked those numbers or kept any kind of statistics on that kind of those kind of offenses before as we are now. But I think we're moving in the right direction. But I do understand that there are concerns in all subdivisions. It's not specific just to University City. It's citywide, and I hear you. I get it.
It's countrywide.
Yeah.
It's United States wide.
So we're we hear it, and we're working on it.
You know what's probably the worst thing to even think about? Those speeders aren't from out of state, out of city.
No, they're locals.
They're residents that live,
they're
neighbors.
locals, they're new residents, but there's signs that say it's 20 miles an hour. And Chief, I'm going to agree to disagree with you on those cameras for the speed tickets and stuff like that. I would be okay with that if when that money went into the accounts, that it went to the right time in the right place. But we also know the city of New Orleans is having major catastrophes where they are owed billions of dollars for their speed tickets. And we probably will never see a drop of that.
Well, when you talk to other municipalities, and I usually never use New Orleans as my litmus test.
Okay.
But other municipalities within this parish have great success with it.
Okay.
And we have other ways to get that, hold them accountable for that.
Okay.
For that. It's
Look,
not fine, but for
I'll
that
back
fee.
you 100%.
Well, I appreciate it.
As long
But
as we start taking pride in our city again, that is the biggest thing that the Kenner residents and politicians have lost, the pride in the city. We must clean the streets. We must mow the lawns, mow the Nutri-Grounds and everything, and clean up the city.
Yes, ma'am. We sure appreciate your comments. At this time, I'm sorry, but your 3 minutes are up.
Thank you.
Thank
God
you,
bless
ma'am.
you all.
One more time, Councilman Wilmot.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to mention, too, that I know that there was a comment earlier that there was no fatalities in the state of Louisiana with golf carts in the last 5 years, is what I got out of it. In 2022, there was a fatality of a 15-year-old in Grand Isle, so I just want to throw that out there. Aside from the golf cart issue, I just wanted to make an announcement earlier, and I missed the typical time of reports of the council and so forth. So I want to make it now. The annual Lagniappe Dog Show Classic starts next Thursday, August 1st at the Pontchartrain Center and ends Sunday, August 4th. The show has significant economic impact in a very positive way for the city of Kenner. There will be many different dog breeds, many different dog breeds competing, and it's free for spectators. So if you want, you're more than welcome to bring your family and go out and enjoy it. Thank you.
Ms. Teresa?